Welcome back to APSA Grand Tour 2021, Session 3. Here this week, we're focusing on Southeast Asia, and we'll visit Thailand, Singapore, and Indonesia. Thanks to everyone who's given so many positive feedbacks about the APSA Tour Grand Tour so far. I think it's because we've got expert panelists and with giving out real information and up-to-date information. Today, we've got 5 experts in their field. Nigel Beattie, who's chairman of APSA. We've got Richard Lofthouse, Gordon Fernandez, Scott Walker, and Andy Shorten. They're going to talk for about 10 minutes each, and then we'll have a question and answer time, which will last for about 30 minutes. So remember to put your questions in the question box, and the panelists can see it, and then they can answer. And we'll also be doing question and answers live. Remember that there's a chat box as well, and if you want to give any feedback or comments to the panelists, you can do it that way. The session's being recorded, and we will have details about that to all the people who are registered, but the recordings are also on the APSA website and available as YouTube. The first person to introduce the session today is Nigel Beattie. And Nigel, over to you.
Hi everyone, hello from Tokyo. It's great to have everybody back again. Welcome once more to the APSA Grand Tour. As always, I welcome our APSA members from around the world. And then for all the other visitors who are not members, welcome too. And please visit the APSA website, find out more about APSA and find out about the membership that we have. This is the 3rd and final episode of a 3-episode series, as Susie mentioned. It's been an interesting series so far. We'll do more in the future. But tonight, we're very excited to have some great speakers who are very experienced with the countries that they operate in. I've known Andy and Richard, Gordon and Scott for a number of years. They're all good fun. They're very enthusiastic about what they do. Of course, as Susie said, via the chat function on Zoom, please let us know your questions that you may have for the question and answer session that we'll have at the end of the presentations. So that's it. That's my little intro. Enjoy the webinar, and back to you, Susie.
Thanks very much, Nigel. And today, the first person talking will be Richard Lofthouse. Richard's a managing director of Catalano Shipping Indonesia and the regional coordinator for Catalano Shipping Asia Pacific, with offices in Singapore, Indonesia, and New Zealand. Richard established Indonesia's first super yacht agency in 2008 and was there to look after big yachts when they arrived in this uncharted territory. Richard, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Susie. And thank you, Nigel. Thank you, APSA, for putting this together. It's absolutely fantastic. And I'm thrilled to be here with my esteemed colleagues, and I think there'll be a lot of very, very good stuff that'll come out of it. So in terms of Southeast Asia in general, which is what I've been asked to highlight before the other guys get into the details country by country. Obviously, we don't want to mention the C word COVID too much, but in reference to that, what we have seen is a very disrupted flow as to what we expected, myself and certainly my partners around the world. What we were betting on really was between the Olympics in Tokyo and America's Cup in New Zealand, that there would be a lot of activity centered around those 2 activities there, and a lot of influx coming from those 2 major events. Well, Tokyo, as we know, didn't happen, and America's Cup is happening, but at a far reduced capacity to what we initially anticipated. So in many ways, it's just changed the dynamics of how we saw the next few years going in Southeast Asia. But on the flip side of that, I think it's fair to say that Southeast Asia, it appears to us, is the market that will emerge the most strongly out of all of this. And I think, you know, to a point, that's already starting to happen. Just to break it down, I mean, you know, surprisingly, and I don't think either Andy or myself have ever made the statement that in the last 6 months or so, Indonesia has actually been the easiest and best place for yachts to come into. And I don't think that's generally a statement that we tend to make, but just whether by design or mistake, we're not entirely sure, but the visa process became very, very easy. We were able to apply for visas. And then when people arrived, whether by seaport or airport, there was no quarantine as long as the PCR test was within 7 days. So, you know, Indonesia has certainly been the best show in town over the last 6 months or so. And I know that, you know, Andy and myself have got, you know, a full marina at the moment, and we're very, very lucky that that we're in that position. So, you know, Indonesia's already presented fairly well and has kind of shown what's possible. And, you know, that's a very positive way to sort of start to get the wheels rolling again in the region. Singapore, you know, has never shut and has sort of remained as a key hub throughout this whole time. And even though, I mean, I'm sure Scotty will highlight, it has not been an easy time to be an agent in Singapore. It's been huge amounts of legislation and regulation and everything else. It's been a little bit tricky to navigate it, but I think Singapore's managed to at least remain open and remain in control of their seaport while remaining open, you know, which has been pretty positive. So, you know, Singapore has kind of managed to hold a little bit of momentum, which is good throughout the whole thing. Then we've got Thailand, which is just starting to re-emerge. And I know Gordon's bringing boats in again, which is fantastic. You know, Thailand, Phuket is a really key hub for Southeast Asia. It's the draw card that brings people across the Indian Ocean. And, you know, it's really key that Thailand begins to re-emerge again as it appears, you know, it appears that they will. So, you know, that's the progress there, basically, that, you know, the big four being Thailand, Singapore, big three is Thailand, Singapore, and Indonesia, really, which are the three big draw cards for Southeast Asia, you know, are all showing fairly positive signs, and that's a very good thing. Langkawi and Malaysia, Borneo are sort of stuck in a kind of paralysis at the moment, and it's kind of hard to get a read on what's going on there. There's a few boats that are sitting there, but it's not that clear whether they're prepared to move forward. So, you know, I think it will be, you know, Thailand as it's coming off season, and Singapore will continue, and then Indonesia, you know, as we move through the year, we're expecting that, you know, we'll draw a fair bit of traffic to the area. I mean, I think, you know, Southeast Asia has kind of been sandwiched throughout the last 12 months between the two hotspots of Maldives on the left and Tahiti/New Zealand on the right. And Tahiti and the Maldives have pulled an awful lot of business in, and there's a lot of boats that have come to those two areas. And they're about at the point now of wondering, well, what do we do next? And, you know, Southeast Asia obviously being sandwiched between those two, we're still expecting the region to, you know, have a pretty good influx of boats coming in. So, you know, overall, I mean, the outlook for Southeast Asia remains very positive. We're very positive. The other side, of course, of all of that with the visiting yachts coming through is that during this period, the phenomenal, brokerage results that have been going on, particularly in places like Hong Kong, has meant that there's a lot more locally owned yachts around the place now. We're seeing a lot more of that, and there'll definitely be a trickle-down effect with some of them as they begin to push out beyond their their current positions. I think that amount of local owners who want to explore the region is definitely increasing and has increased during this last 12-month period, which is incredibly positive. So yeah, between that and the amount of yachts that are looking for options in this part of the world, I think we can all look forward to a pretty good upswing for Southeast Asia once the various governments kind of get a strategy together and work things out, and look at what is possible rather than just sort of trying to keep the door bolted shut. But it would appear that we're not too far away from that now. So it's very positive signs of re-emergence, and let's hope we can see out 2021 as a very good year throughout the region.
Thank you, Richard. That you're right. This is a real period of change, and I'm glad to see that Asia is shining during this time, especially with the number of boats being sold in the region. Now we go on to Gordon Fernandez, who has been a superyacht specialist and the co-founder of Asia Pacific Superyachts Company. Gordon has worked tirelessly for 15 years, and he's been bringing super yachts into the Asia Pacific region. Based in Phuket, Gordon his dream is to make Asia a home for super yachts. So Gordon, show us why super yachts should come to Thailand. Gordon?
Hello, Susie. Sorry about that. That was a bit of a technical difficulty there. As some people might know, I'm new to Zoom, but I'm learning fast. Of course, with the aid of Susie and Nigel, it's been great. I'd like to thank them for letting us be on this APSA talk, and hopefully what I can do is give you a little bit of insight into Phuket and the Andaman Sea, and hopefully give you not just the beach side of things, but also a little bit more of what people can do. As Susie said, I've been on the island for a long time. I actually grew up in just outside London and moved here 23 years ago. In London, I used to work for a little company at that time called Apple. And at that time, Apple were really in the doldrums. They were basically bankrupt. And, part of me wanted to stay there, but my sister was living in Phuket, and I decided that what I'll do is come here on a little holiday, go to Australia, do all of that, and then go back. Steve Jobs had actually said what was going to happen at Apple, and all of that came true. So as everybody knows, they're a very big company now. So anyway, that's a little bit about me. The first season I got here, I was working as a diver over in Phi Phi, and then I came over to Phuket and started to do what we've been doing now for 23 years. Just a little bit of info on the COVID situation. I know it's a hot topic and not a topic that everybody wants to discuss. What's happened in Thailand actually is we've got a bit of a success story in controlling COVID. I think up until yesterday, there was 15,000 cases of COVID and about 75 people have died with the COVID-related illness. So well done to the Thai government. They did close down quite early. I'm not sure if everybody knows, but I think Thailand was one of the first people to say that they had a COVID case here. So yeah, it has unfortunately decimated the tourist industry, but on the other side of it, we've had these kind of disasters before and we always come back bigger and stronger. So hopefully that will happen. So what I'm going to do is go through the changes in Phuket, and as you can see on your screen there, we've got, on the left-hand side, we've got a map. I'm going to show you a whole overview. So excuse me to the people who have already been to Thailand, know where Thailand is and everything else. But here's Thailand. Of course, you've got Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Malaysia bordering it. And the big countries next door are Singapore, Hong Kong, and China, as I'm sure we all know. And then if we look at the map on the other side, I'm going to talk to you today about Phuket and the Andaman Sea, which is on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, you have Koh Samui and the Gulf of Thailand. I won't really be talking about that. Hopefully, Susie and Nigel will introduce Charlie Dwyer, Captain Charlie Dwyer, into one of these sessions, hopefully if they do another lot, as he's the expert for that area. And he's lived there for 20 years and he knows the area inside out. Just to let you know, both areas have a similar topography, basically rainforest, because we get a lot of rain and we get a lot of sun. And of course, the golden sandy beaches and the clear blue water. There is one difference weather-wise, which is a little bit to do, I'm not sure what it's to do with, but we have Koh Samui on that side, and their actual high season is from March until August. And we have Phuket on the other side, and their season is, our season is from November till April. You can get away with a cruise in May. You can actually cruise a little bit of Phuket in our low season, but I'll get to that a little bit later. So another thing to focus on is piracy. A lot of people in Europe especially talk about piracy, and there is piracy, of course, in the Red Sea, which is quite far away from us now. We have never, since I've been here, we have never had a piracy attack in Phuket or the surrounding areas. So everybody is safe when they come here. Thai people are lovely and it's great, easy cruising. So please don't think of piracy when you're coming here. There is piracy down in the Malacca Straits, but it's all highly organized piracy and they're attacking commercial ships. So make sure that you know about that. So here's a little video. Because of the streaming, it's going a little bit slow. It's not me. And I thought I'd do little pictures and videos of there's some beaches. This is Phuket. And then also give you an overview. This is a stunning bay. There are many bays like this where the boat can anchor outside and then bring the tender in and the guests can go and enjoy the scenery and the warmth of Thailand, I think is the best way to describe it. Okay, so one of the reasons why Phuket has developed the way it has is, of course, we have a big international airport. And as that plane landed there, you probably saw the beach. There is a beach there where you can actually watch the planes land, a little bit like in St. Martin, although it's not as famous as St. Martin. Now, Phuket International Airport, when I got here, was a small, really a domestic airport. And what would happen is we would fly down to Singapore or Hong Kong, there were flights to, but the main flights were going to Bangkok. And as the tourism has grown, so have the flights. Now you can fly directly from Phuket to Australia, New Zealand. You can still do, I think there's 15 flights a day going to Singapore, Hong Kong, about 4 flights a day. The Middle Eastern hubs, Europe have flights, and of course, our friends in China. Of course, these guys are now flying a lot more than 10 years ago. And I mean, there's cities that I've never heard the name of with 10 million people in there, and the planes are coming every day. So it's really become a big factor in why the tourism has grown. Just to give you a little stat, there was 9 million arrivals at Phuket International Airport in 2019. So here, of course, we've got another beautiful beach. And for those of you who are sitting in Europe, I apologize. This is what we live with every day. And, you know, unfortunately, I'm normally in the office in the high season, but we do get to get out and we do get to see everything in the low season. So it's not that bad. And hopefully one day, if you haven't been here before, I strongly recommend it. So one thing that wasn't actually born out of the tourism industry. Is we actually have a lot of world-class golf courses here. So the Thais got into golf in the 70s, 80s, and through that, they built quite a lot of golf courses. So if you have any owners or guests who want to play golf, they're well catered for. And we actually have a PGA course here in Phuket, which is a Blue Canyon course. And Tiger Woods won the Johnny Walker Classic there in 1998. So we have had some big players come. And of course, the Thais want the courses to be immaculate, and they're very, very nice. So now we go on to the spa capital of Asia. I call it the spa capital of Asia. There's some lovely ladies giving another lady a massage there. Of course, what can we say about massage? Everybody loves it. It's great. But I think the difference now is what the spas are doing, and they're doing a lot more of the holistic healing. We're seeing a lot more of the wellness centers, especially in Koh Samui. If owners want, we can put a masseuse or get their nails done on the yacht. We've done that quite a lot. Also, what actually happens now is Thailand has become a very big area for people to do plastic surgery and procedures. And when I say procedures, I mean things like boob jobs and other items which might be removed or changed. So it's not just the spas that are happening. There's a whole beautification industry, should we say, coming up and about. So obviously, again, you're welcome. And I mean, for the normal traveler, of course, the spas are so cheap here, it's rude not to. Another activity which has become very big is Muay Thai boxing. Now, I wouldn't go in with that fella. I definitely wouldn't go in with that girl, because they would definitely knock me out very quickly. But it's actually very big business here. And what we're getting now is, of course, we're getting even people from the UFC. So Dana White from the UFC was here a couple of years ago, training in these gyms and sending over their UFC fighters. One of the things that we've actually done, which has been great for the guests, is we've actually got the boat to sponsor a prime time fight. And what will happen is the owner of the boat will give a cash prize, not that much money, but they'll also give a cup, an extra cup. And so the fight will then be renamed as the boat name, and the owners love it because it's something a little bit different. So then we go on to things like beach clubs. Now, when I first got here, really what used to happen is we used to go to little bars on the beach, and they were little wooden huts and little structures. And, you know, they were great because you had your feet in the sand and you can talk to your friends, and, you know, some people could still get a suntan if they needed it. Not that I need it. But also, what happened with the event now of extra tourism are these kind of flash beach clubs. And look, I think the best is you can get the best of both worlds out of these beach clubs. So for us in particular, owners like to go to the little wooden hut, but they also like to go to somewhere which has got a proper floor, a very decent champagne, and somewhere where they can relax and mingle with other people of their own kind, shall we say. So the beach clubs have definitely come a long way. Phuket definitely leads the way with the beach club scene. But on the outer islands, there are mainly, actually on the mainland, there's a couple of beach clubs, but Phuket's definitely leading the way on what you can do. I actually, funny enough, went to a beach club on Saturday, and I'll get to the provisioning a little bit later, but they had a fig and blue cheese pizza. Now, you know, coming from Little Watford in the UK, I'd never had a fig and blue cheese pizza, and I can tell you it was absolutely fantastic. So there's one. If you're ever this way, it's not just Thai food. Another thing which owners really like to do out here is visit temples. Not all owners, but we definitely have quite a few owners who want to go and see what the Thai culture is. And as you can see from the video there, there's some great images. And also this goes back a little bit to what I was talking earlier about the piracy. Thais, anybody who's been here know it's the land of smiles. know the people are lovely, know that you're going to get a warm welcome, but also they're very honest people. And, you know, there are things, e.g., you know, crew member has left their phone in a bar, and they track these people down, the owners of the bar track the crew members down the next day and say, well, here's your phone. You know, I'm not sure that happens everywhere, but it has happened a lot here. And, you know, that's why I think as well, the piracy, you know, the Thais aren't so materialistic. So, you know, it leads to, you know, for us, a great life, because, you know, they really are lovely, genuine people. So here we've got another shot of some more beaches. Again, apologies to the guys in Europe. You know, I know it's probably cool out there. Okay, and then what we have now, some of the most amazing luxury villas and hotels. You know, again, when I first got here, we had a couple of 5-star hotels, and you know, the Armampuri was built, which is the real 6-star hotel here. They had already been here for a while, but now, really, what we think happened is, of course, the flights have made a big difference, but in 2004, we had, of course, a devastating tsunami. And with that, basically, CNN were reporting from Phuket, Thailand, and so were the BBC, along with other news outlets. So we think that out of the bad came good, because after that, a lot of people came from Europe and other countries to Thailand. And that really is what fueled the luxury villa market. And now it's easy to see villas between the 10 and $30 million mark US. And also you can see, you know, for the owners, there's a good return on some of them. I mean, one of the clients that we have, he rents his villa out. It is an 8-bedroom villa, and it's got stunning views and a private beach, but in the high season, $28,000 a night. So I think it shows you, coming from that bungalow beach style relaxed attitude, they're still relaxed, I'm sure they are, but it's a totally different world. And of course there's the spas and everything else, and as you can see, infinity pools all built in, so it makes for a great lifestyle. So I thought what we'll also do is we'll touch a little bit on entertainment, and that's more because what we have definitely seen over the last few years is the entertainment in regards to children. There's been, when I first got here, it was mainly adults that came, and we'd get a few families. But recently, really over the last 4 or 5 years, we're seeing a lot more families come here. So of course, with families come kids, and they need to be entertained. And of course, you've got the diving, the snorkeling, everything else, you know, which they can do on the boat, and that's great. But, you know, if they want to do other things, then of course we're a holiday island. So you have the things like the go-karts, the ATVs, whitewater rafting, they don't do so much, but it's here if they want it. But the one thing I really wanted to mention are the elephants, because of course, when I came here 23 years ago, I took a ride on an elephant, and I'm sure a lot of people have done. But of course, as those elephants get older, it gets harder for the manhooks and the people who own them to keep them, because as you can see by their size, they eat a lot. So one of the things which has happened is there have been a lot of eco-elephant camps set up. And as you can see by that picture, basically what happens is you're not allowed to ride them, you know, treat them badly, but you're allowed to swim with them and walk with them and let them be in their own environment and let them have their own time. And honestly, the owners that we've had go to it, and it's been quite a few, have all loved it. So it's an experience that everybody should try, but maybe you don't want to buy an elephant for your own house. So, and yet another thing, when I first got here, shopping. So of course, Thailand is famous for its markets and everything that goes with the market, i.e. food and knickknacks and bags. And you can see, you know, in the bottom corner there, you know, the guy cooking, and also the little bags, etc. they're selling. What's really happened is the market has gone from a place where it was just fake goods to now them selling their own goods, mainly made up north, and they send them down. But now, instead of selling the Louis Vuitton rip-off bag, they're selling their own bag. You know, they're still the Louis Vuitton rip-offs, but it's definitely not as prevalent. And I think one of the reasons for that is the government has been doing a bit of work trying to stop that. But also because we now also have the brand names here. So the Gucci's, the Prada, the Hermes, the Louis Vuitton, they actually have a big store in the center of the island. So now for owners, there's all kinds of shopping. So if that's what they want to do, before we used to send them to Singapore or Hong Kong or even Bangkok, now the owners can actually do it here. So it makes it a lot easier for us, and the owners, of course, it makes it a bigger attraction. You know, the family who actually own Central Phuket there, they've actually just built shopping malls in Italy to the tune of 150 million euros. So there are some very rich ties there in Thailand, of course, and now there is a big middle class coming up. So it's making for interesting times out here, I think, is the best way to describe it. So here again, we've got some more lovely beaches and some more crystal clear water. Some of the outer islands, that's Chicken Island there. Lovely little bays, and this is what you get when you cruise around here. So it's definitely a brilliant cruising area. As I had said earlier, our cruising period is really between November and April, maybe May. What actually happens is there is wind during the King's Cup, January time, and then the wind up until January time, the King's Cup's in December. And then what happens is mid-February, March and April, it really, the wind dies down. So it's flat as a pancake for cruising. And again, for the owners who get seasick, you know, now, of course, there's zero speed stabilizers, but, you know, it just makes it easier getting in and out of tenders and accessing areas. So, you know, it's just another plus for the destination. So again, when I first got here, there was one marina. Now, as you can see, this is all footage from the marinas. There is now actually 5 marinas in Phuket and 2 marinas over in Krabi. And, you know, the way the marinas have developed for us, of course, has been fantastic. And you can see there, that marina can take 80, 90 meters. They've had a 90-meter boat in there. There is another marina that can actually handle a 130-meter boat. So now we've gone from an area where there wasn't a lot to there's more. There's these marinas, but there's more coming. And there's 2 marinas over in Krabi, as I said. So the big difference, I think, is, and I think Richard sort of talked about it a little bit earlier. Before when I first got here, we were just looking after the people who were coming on a world cruise, and that was it. Then slowly we were getting regular clients, but now we're getting actual Asian owners. So it makes things totally different. And, you know, the guys in Bangkok have always had the money, but they've just never really been introduced to the yachts. So it's great that, you know, now we've got the marinas and there's more coming, and it's hopefully going to make it for exciting times here. Shipyards. Okay, unfortunately, well, we do have shipyards, but unfortunately, the maximum at the moment we can cater for is 35-meter boats. That's mainly because of the tide. However, there is a shipyard coming up, and the owner has already got the land, and he has actually already ordered a 500-ton travel lift. So we are hoping that in the future there is going to be a super yacht shipyard here. It's on its way, and here there are a lot of things that need to be done, the biggest being an environmental impact assessment. So hopefully, if he can get over that hurdle, I think he's nearly there. We shall be seeing a nice, shiny new shipyard soon. Let's hope anyway. So I touched on it a little bit earlier. Of course, when I first got to the island, the only thing we couldn't even buy loaves of bread. The only thing you could have was rice, and more rice, because that's what the locals had. Now, my goodness, it has changed immensely. I mentioned my fig and blue cheese pizza earlier, but strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, everything is available. Canadian lobsters, Vindiclair oysters. Am I making you hungry? I hope I am. But it's all available, and it's on supermarket shelves. We of course do a provisioning service, and of course if people need provisions to go to the outer islands, as you can see by that little speedboat there, we can pack everything and get everything taken over there. So it makes it so that if the owner doesn't want to come back here, of course they can keep cruising. At the end of the day, we want them to have a great time. So we've got another video here of scenery. But here, what I think I wanted to mention, and here they come, are of course the monkeys. So there are monkeys on quite a few beaches. It is actually a fair attraction to quite a few owners. They do want to see monkeys. Apart from the sea life, I think monkeys are normally asked, where can we see monkeys, especially of course if they've got children. And of course in Phuket there's monkeys. In Phang Nga Bay, there's an island with monkeys, Krabi, but in Phi Phi, there's a place called Monkey Beach. So we normally send them over there, and they get very happy, and they go away. So monkeys and elephants are the big on land. So charter rules. Okay, so here in Phuket, as you can see by that lovely yacht Vertigo there, they have been coming here on and off since they got built, and they're a charter boat. Now, at the moment, the law stands that you cannot charter here unless you have a lovely Thailand flag. But that rule makes it very difficult for the big yachts, for the simple reason that you need to pay 7% of the value of the yacht in tax before you can Thai register it. And also you have to have a Thai captain and a Thai engineer on board. So there are two things which very much hamper Thai flagging. Also, one thing which is unfortunate for us is it makes the value of the boat a little lower. But like most things in Thailand, there's a way around this. And the way around this is what we do, and I'll show you some maps a little bit later, is the yachts that want to charter, they start the charter in Phuket and they finish the charter in Langkawi, Malaysia. That way they do an international passage, and therefore it's basically legal for them to charter. Now, there has been a lot of work done by the TYBA, which is the body here, and Andy Treadwell, I'm sure a lot of people will know him from the Thailand Yacht Show, in trying to get a charter license, a legal charter working license here. The government are actually behind it and they want to do it. But as with a lot of Southeast Asian countries, there's a lot of officials who pop up and say, okay, well, what about this rule and what about that rule? So there's been a lot of work done, and I think they did a 60-page assessment, which they gave to the government last week. And so hopefully in the future, it will be a lot easier. But for now, yachts can charter still here. So, it's worth bringing a boat because, of course, it's a great cruising area. One other thing to note is that lovely beach behind Vertigo there is one of the beaches that we use for beach setups and beach barbecues. Everybody, again, on board a yacht loves a beach barbecue. And now it is getting harder to do it because there's a lot of rules and regulations in places like Phuket. But as you get further south, there's less tourists, and you can have areas like that all to the guests. The guests can have it all to themselves, and so it's lovely. So as I said, I didn't want to show too many pictures of too many beaches and too many golden waters, but one of the jewels in the crown is the Simonon Islands, and it's actually 60 miles north of Phuket, and it was made in the 70s, it was made a national park. So this is one of the main areas for scuba diving, which I'll come on to in a minute. But it's a fantastic area, and swimming scuba diving, snorkeling. There's no hotels on the islands. There's actually 9 islands that make up the Similans, but it's a fantastic cruising area. And even if you're not a diver, it's definitely worth a visit for a swim or a snorkel. And then we come on to world-class diving. I think a lot of people know that Phuket and the surrounding waters and even the Koh Samui area has some fantastic diving. I'm a diver myself and I love it. One of the things that I still haven't seen is a whale shark. So if anybody's got a boat and they want to take me out, I'm available. I'd love to see a whale shark. It's on the bucket list. And we have had actually whale sharks come into the bay in Patong Bay when I first got here and sit for a couple of days. Less and less sightings of them, unfortunately, these days, but they're still around, and you know they'll hang around for 2-3 days, maybe a week. But also other things that you can see, of course, as you saw that manta ray, leopard sharks, grey tip, white tip sharks. So there's some beautiful coral here as well. So there's some great diving. Not only in the Similans, there's Koh Bon, Koh Chai, Phi Phi, Hindeng, Hin Muang. So again, it's one of the things which owners do come here for is the diving, and of course, it's great. So this is Phang Nga Bay, one of the bays. It's absolutely stunning. You have all these limestone islands, which basically have been pushed up. And what's happened is, of course, they're very soft. So the rain sticks and then the vegetation grows, and then you have these beautiful beaches in there. The Man with the Golden Gun, the James Bond film, was filmed there many, many years ago. You also saw a clip of some Thai dancers. One of the things that we've done a lot of is put shows onto boats. So as people are cruising, you know, the owners after dinner can have a show, and that's ranged from everything from magicians to Thai dancers. We do actually have a ladyboy show, but it's very tasteful and it's family friendly. So there's lots of other things that we can do whilst the owner's cruising. So now we go on to regattas and of course the Thailand Yacht Show. So Phuket actually has 3 regattas. We have the King's Cup in early December. We have the Phang Nga Bay Regatta, which follows normally Chinese New Year, whenever that is. And we have Phuket Race Week, which is in July. So those are the 3 main regattas that we have now. Now, out of the 3, the King's Cup is probably the most well-known, and we get a lot more of the professional sailors flying in to do the King's Cup. But it's still a great event if you just want to charter a boat and go out. Also, the Phang Nga Bay Regatta and the Phuket Race Week, they're more of what you would call a fun regatta. So yes, there are cups to go for, but people generally want to soak the atmosphere up, make new friends, and go for a high quality, good fun sail. So it's good for us. Now, one thing which I just didn't mention there was the Thailand Yacht Show. We have a Thailand Yacht Show here every January, and that's the current time frame. It has moved around a bit. And again, if owners are here and they want to buy a new tender or they want to get new equipment, then that's the show to go to. Okay, so as promised, I'll give you a little bit of information on routes. And as I had said earlier, for us, there's really 2 routes. But what I try to do is, if yachts are coming, I do try and say, if the owner has time, you know, rather than just doing the Phuket route, you've got the Maldives, you've got Sri Lanka, you've got Myanmar, you've got the Andaman Islands, you've got Phuket, you've got Malaysia. You know, there's a whole set of places where the owner can go if they have the time and availability. And of course, you know, it just gives the owner more options. So, I mean, with the Andaman Islands, they're closer to us. I haven't put them on as a route, but the Andaman Islands are where you can do some great fishing. So on that route map there, basically you go from Phuket down to Langkawi. And then our next route map is from the north of Thailand. Okay, so as you can see, Phuket is just below the Khao Lak mark. And you can see that video, don't miss that video. And basically from Phuket, you can then cruise doing these northern islands, which just below that is Surin Island, sorry, the Similan Island, Surin, and then you can check into Khao Tong, and then you can do a cruise. This is what we call the northern cruise for us, and then do the Mergui Archipelago in Myanmar. I won't mention too much about that because that's not why I'm here today, but it's just a route that we actually take. And just to mention, on those islands, there's 800 islands up there, all with that beautiful golden beach and crystal clear water, and there's nobody living on them. And maybe 6 or 7 now have hotels as things have developed up there, but it's still a lovely, amazing cruising ground. Okay, so now we're going on to Phang Nga Bay and Krabi, and this is actually on the mainland there. There's a beautiful temple at the top. And one thing which people may or may not know about is Krabi and Phi Phi have now a lot of rock climbing going on. So rock climbers are coming from all over the world, and we have actually had a boat come here specifically to do rock climbing. The owner and his wife were into rock climbing, and that's how they met. And yeah, so they came here specifically for a rock climbing cruise as such. And as you can see from those rocks there, it's lovely over there. So that's it from me. I want to once again thank Susie, Nigel, and the APSA team for having me. And I'd like to thank all of you guys for taking the time to watch and hear me. I hope it's been interesting for you. And as Susie had said, basically, I'm open to any questions either now or later. And thank you for your time. Over to you, Susie.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you. And yeah, I can confirm that Phuket is an amazing destination for super yachts. And I've seen 50 or more super yachts with the owners and the crew loving it. There are questions starting to come in, and so please keep them rolling in. We'll answer them at the end of the presentations. So next we move on from Thailand to Singapore and Captain Scott Walker is going to greet us there. He wears 2 hats. One is as NABS Engineering, and the other one is as the Asian arm of Asia Pacific Super Yachts. Scott was the co-founder of Asia Pacific Super Yachts and became involved with large yachts in the mid-90s. He's kept yachts running and procured supplies and as they sail between Singapore and Phuket. So Scott, can you tell us more about Singapore, please?
Yeah, hi, Susie, and thanks for everybody for having us here. Yes, Singapore, it's sort of has a long history in the maritime world, and it's a busy place, but it's not really the destination like we've just seen in Phuket. It has a different onus for Singapore, which is more of a repair, maintenance, that kind of a thing. Stopover. You know, we're not focused on so much the tourism. There is tourism in town, although currently all that has been rather curtailed with our global problem right now. But focusing more just on what we do here is we've got a harbor, obviously, that is very busy with the commercial traffic. We have shipyards, oil terminals, and every manner of harbor operations that go on here on a daily basis. Harbor runs 24/7, 365, and even during this whole problem of 2020 with the pandemic, it has remained open to ships coming in and leaving, but under certain conditions. Singapore itself is quite famous for several things now, and a lot of it is based around the shore-based things, eating, drinking, F1, all those things that basically have stopped at the moment. But there's another aspect of it that is the more practical for what we do, and that is the the shipyards, the repairs, the surveys, the health things with medical, crew change, crew-related matters, all that stuff. That's what we more or less focus on here. So this one, we all know that. The food and drink and whatnot is always been a big part of Singapore, although now it's like everywhere has changed. So what we really focus on now is we're right in the middle of everything here. All of Southeast Asia, and Singapore is the hub of the wheel. So here is a convenient place for a lot of vessels to either offload from heavy lift ships or reload onto them again, or just passing through to do a stopover for whatever it is that you require, more or less. You know, again, as I said, we're focused heavily on the repair, surveys, and even stand down of vessels here. You know, this is how it is. We don't have bad weather. We're too close to the equator. And so it works out that the real activities here are crew related, and you got crew change now, of course, but then there's the medical, you know, the changes, the holidays, and all that kind of thing. There's a percentage of boats here now of mega yachts that are local owned, which live here. Although they don't tend to stay here year round, they tend to move about. The big thing for Singapore is the shipyard is the main draw, one of the main draws, I should say, for a longer period. And for shorter things, we have bunkering and of course supplies and various services. Singapore hosts most of the brands that we see in all the yachts: Caterpillar, MTU, wrenches, boxes, gearboxes. You've got all manner of the equipment suppliers are all basically here with regional headquarters or major big distributors. So the supplies and services in this region mostly come out of here. That's coupled with our freight industry, the air freight, sea freight, and logistics, which runs pretty much nonstop, you know, 24/7, and works very well. So these are the main ones. Bunkering, of course, being another big one that we do here. We do a lot of. It's possible for vessels to call in just for bunkers and take supplies without coming ashore, just doing the anchorage and then carry on. And then after that, you've got surveys, you know, Lloyd's, ABS, Bureau Veritas, they're all basically here with their regional headquarters. So surveyors are easy to get and easy to get on board. As we mentioned too, also dockyards, synchro lifts, graving dock, floating dry docks. This country is full of them. There's about 20 main yards that run here all the time. There's 3 yards that are focused more or are able to focus more on yachts. And so we've had any number of boats that have passed through, have all had good success in dry docking here. Then we have the marinas. We've got 4. We got Raffles Marina in the far west, which is this is the oldest one, the original sort of marina of Singapore. And then moving the other direction, we have the RSYC, which is more for smaller boats, but can still take you know, fairly good sized vessels there. Keppel Marina, of course, and Keppel does have the ship berth on the outside wall, which is very good for very large vessels. And then we have Sentosa Cove, which is 115 Marina, right, which has got like 20 berths on a stern too. So the anchorages in Singapore are basically not meant for the yachts to use. The MPA here will allow for temporary, maybe to 24, possibly up to 48 hours of a yacht to stay anchored, but generally they chase you off. You have to either go to a marina, a shipyard, or leave. The harbor is busy and it's full of lots of traffic, and so it's, again, it comes back to that it's more of a commercial destination for this kind of thing. Our immigration also works very easily too here. We don't handle passports anymore. So it's simple process, which is done from the office to make it easy and quick for coming in. As you can see here, Raffles Marina, this has got a wall that's freestanding here. It's a pier. It's a couple hundred meters long, but it's limited on its tonnage that it can take. So anything heavy, it can't keep there for too long, or it has to stay on its own. And then we move on again, like I said, to 115 Marina, which is just undergone a reconfiguring, which is basically placing all the big yachts right in front of the Marina Club instead of at the far end where they were, which is good. And they can take about 20 big boats and a stern two, like you see. And then Keppel Bay, you can see where the photo showing the funny bent buildings in the background and the big motor yacht we all know there. That's a ship berth, that's a deep water berth. That's 10 meters at low water. So that can take most anything that's 220 meters long, solid concrete facing. It was part of a shipyard originally. And then on the inside, go. And then the RSYC, the yacht club, is a couple of resident boats here. So most of the dock space is already occupied. But for smaller boats, sailboats, that kind of thing, this is a good spot because there's no height restriction. I would add that Keppel Marina has a cruise bay, where Keppel Marina has a height restriction of 48 meters. So pretty much any large sailboats are not permitted to go in. All right. And then we move on to our dockyards. I mean, everyone's seen the dockyards, what they're like. We have synchro lift, floating docks, and graving docks here. We can take up to very big vessels, although there's really only like three shipyards here that are suitable for bringing in yachts, and that do have any track record. Yeah, as you can see, some generic pictures here. There we go, move on. We've got, hull cleaning. This is anchorage stuff. In the anchorage itself, like hull cleaning is a big job that goes on because alongside they don't allow, because of the safety for the divers, bunkering, of course. And the other thing too is we've got the helicopter services here because of the aviation sector, and then provisions and whatnot, and done by lighters, taxis. COVID, the C word again. Singapore has remained, the port of Singapore has remained open throughout the whole crisis. They never at any time have turned any vessels away, even ones that have turned up here with COVID on board. Basically, the ships all can come and go. It's just that we have a very strict protocol that has to be followed. The crew members will still be remanded on board even after they've finished their quarantine and whatnot. So, but contractors from the shore can go on board and carry out their required work. Supplies can be put on board, and all the rest of the normal ship operations can go on. It's just that for the crew, it's a bit of a thing where they have to stay on the ship. We can get permission for them to go ashore sort of from week to week. And there are other things that are rolling out now to work with this whole COVID situation and try and make the sailor's life a bit easier. Of course, then there's destinations after Singapore being in the middle of things. We got a percentages wise in Australia, South Asia, the Med, North Asia, Pacific, and Asian region. It's just we're sort of the hub of the wheel here with all the spokes going out. So any direction you can go, you can find things. And basically, as we know that the seasons out here, although like as Gordon talked about before, you have one season in Phuket. It's the same place just across the land into the Gulf of Thailand. You have a whole nother season that has opened up. So when one's bad, one is good. So you can literally stay out here for much longer than a season. There's a lot to see. There's more than they can do in actually a season. To be honest, there's far too much to see and too many places to go. And with all the support that's in the region and stemming out of Singapore specifically, it's very easy for a vessel to come out here, operate over a year or perhaps 2 years time, doing multiple trips out and coming back and to carry out vessel maintenance requirements and that sort of thing. This has been done on many occasions with lots of large boats. So I don't know what else there is. That's really about it for Singapore.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks, Scott. That was great. A great overview of Singapore. And that boat, Bold, is just there in Singapore now, I understand. Now we're moving from Singapore to Indonesia, and we're welcomed by Andy Shorten, who established the Lighthouse Consultancy, an Indonesian shore support company. And he spent 19 years in the Indonesian marine tourism industry. And he and his team have developed a comprehensive understanding of the superyacht cruising throughout the Indonesian archipelago. Andy, over to you. Show us why we should do.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Scott, and also Gordon, for filling us with wisdom about the countries that you guys work in. I will now talk a little bit about Indonesia. Now, I don't really want to talk about the airports and the logistics, the clearances or the provisions or anything like that. We can help with all those kind of things. There are a number of shore support companies here that will be able to do that. So logistically, we're getting really good at that kind of stuff. What I want to do is basically show you lots of beautiful photographs, because that is the real reason why you'd want to come and visit Indonesia. It's an absolutely stunning place. We're very fortunate that it is so beautiful. So I'm going to allow these photographs to entice you to come along, and as and when you want to bring your yacht here, then you'll be able to do that. Now, following a bit of a trend set by Trent a couple of weeks ago, just want to show you the green there is Indonesia. You can see it's pretty much the same size as the mainland USA. We've got 17,000 islands. So yeah, it's a huge area that we're working with. If you were to put Singapore in there, you'd probably get it in 712,000 times. So, you know, we're working with a slightly different range and different focus to people like Scott. We're going to go through 4 main cruising areas. The first is going to be Bali to Komodo. Then we're going to talk about the Banda Sea. Have some lovely photographs from Raja Ampat, which everyone knows, and then actually a new area, I guess, Cendrawasih, with some very large and interesting fish life there. So let's move on to the next one. Right, so we're going to start here in the bottom here. You've got the cruising region from Bali to Komodo. Bali is pretty much the place where most people start their initial trips. It's nice because it's got an international airport, which is about 5-6 minutes from the port. Can get on the boat there, and then the boat will leave to go east. The next photo is going to be going to show you really beautiful chart, let's say, showing all the different stop-offs and anchorages that you can visit on the way between Bali and Komodo. You can see Komodo there on the right hand side, and we've got a blown up area there. So if you look there, there's probably something like 10 different anchorages that you can visit for a day on the way over to Komodo, and then maybe another 15 or 20 anchorages in Komodo National Park itself. The lovely thing about this is that you can visit the area and just focus on going from Bali to Komodo and back, or you can just see this area and then get off in Komodo, and the guests can fly out and leave the country that way. Or if you've got a really long time to spend in the country, this could just be the first part of your trip, and then you can continue on as I'll be enticing you to do during the next part of the presentation. So the next photograph that we're going to look at is a lovely crater lake here on the top of Mount Rinjani. You can see a group of people there. We actually ended up with 32 porters lugging 4 tents, and the guests themselves actually stayed off the boat for that night. It was really, really cool. Beautiful, beautiful trip. Now, this next section is on the just outside of Moyo, I believe. Beautiful wakeboarding activities there. You can see lovely, lovely white sand beaches and not another person in sight. So that's one of the real positives. Here we have the Amanwana, which is a tented resort. It's about 150 miles out of Bali, and literally it's glamping. It's just beautiful. But they also have lovely spas and lovely meals. It's one of the few places on the trip that you're actually able to stop. And also very close to there's this incredible waterfall. So you can get in like this green MASH style truck and all drive up to the waterfall. You get in, there's a rope swing there and you can swing into the pool. And that's a pretty scenic and pretty unique place to go. Following further on, then we're going to the Crater Lake at Setonda Island. So we've actually taken, this is Seawolf in the front. She has a huge array of toys, and we took the kayaks from there, walked through this little mass of land, and then actually did kayaking on a crater lake, which I don't think many people in the world can say they've done. So, you know, it's really nice. Komodo is a very full of beautiful anchorages. You'll see lots of different yachts in the slides as they come. Komodo itself is actually very arid. This image here shows you can often trek up high onto the hills and then look over. If you see in the right-hand side of the slide there, quite how brown the bushes and the islands are. So it's very different because of the low rainfall. Here we are showing beautiful blue water with some stand-up paddles. That's from a boat, Archimedes. Then you want to go underwater. Now, Komodo is pretty renowned for fast currents and speedy and a lot of fish. You can see this guy here has had to hook in with his reef hook, and he's just watching the activities of the fish going by. It's kind of fish soup. You know, you've got a big school of sweet lips there, and you can see one just in the front there being cleaned. So a lot of people go to here, maybe not to learn to dive, but already knowing how to dive, and they want to just see all these different creatures. It's a really lovely experience. Here is a squadron. I believe it's the collective noun is a squadron of manta ray. You can see them all lining up there. Pretty lucky shot by a friend of mine called Mike Veach, who does guide on yachts for us. This is a Komodo dragon, and they're pretty much found on 2 islands in Komodo National Park, and they are, you can guarantee pretty much to see them. You can visit the park area where the rangers are, or you can see them on the beaches. Here is one of the beaches down in Cannibal Bay, Cannibal Rock, which was named when the person who discovered it found a large Komodo dragon eating another one on the top of the rock. You think you might get away from them by being on your boat, but they can swim. So you really do need to be careful of your Komodo dragons. As you move further east, this is a lovely anchorage, and you can see a beach set up here down the bottom. We often have local visitors come over and try and sell you some fish or maybe some ikat cloths and weavings and that kind of thing. And that's a really nice way. Some limited interactions with local communities. We can arrange to go on shore and visit them too. It just depends on what the activities are and what the bosses want to do. Again, another beautiful anchorage. Okay, so let's hold it for a second here. Right, we've finished Komodo. Now we're going to move on to the Banda Sea. Now, the Banda Sea is a smaller cruising ground. You can pretty much add 2 or 3 days to a larger Komodo trip or a Raja Ampat trip by visiting the Banda Sea. Banda Sea is really nice because it's a different vibe. It's a human history as opposed to beautiful scenic. Komodo is wonderful. Raja Ampat is so beautiful. They're amazing. But the issue is you can get bored of seeing all these beautiful places. So why not learn a bit about culture and history too? And that's where Banda comes in. So we're going to look for a couple of photographs here, which are going to explain and show evidence of what you can do when you visit Banda, either for a couple of days or maybe a week or so. So here's Banda itself, very small town. You can see a very large volcano there that erupted, I believe, last time in 1988. See a yacht in the corner. That's not always there. You can also see a fort on the hill there, Fort Meljita. Very interesting. Now, mace is the reason why Banda is famous. Nutmeg, sorry, and mace is an offcut of nutmeg. So this is the different stages of the nutmeg plant. This is one of my very good friends who's a guide there, and he will take you around. It's a very small town, so basically people can get off the yacht, just drop on the dock and then wander around, go through the town. There's a museum, there's a lovely market, and people will show you. It's really lovely because people are so interested in talking to you and seeing you, and you get to interact and take photos of the people, buy stuff from them. It's really, really nice. It's a very friendly place. This is Seawolf again, with a Kora Kora canoe in front of it. Now, a Kora Kora canoe has 32 people on it, and they race across the Bay of Banda. It's a very interesting and delightful activity for people to be involved in. If you don't want to see people, you want to see big hammerhead sharks, then you want to go to the Banda Sea in October or November. Very newly discovered, I guess, 4 or 5 years ago. If you look into the blue rather than the coral, you can see pretty much big schools of hammerhead sharks. This is an old volcano called Komba, right in the south of the Banda Sea, and this used to erupt every 4 or 5 minutes. It was beautiful, lovely sounds. You could see the lava at night, and it was beautiful. Then all of a sudden, one day, it just stopped. Maybe it got bored, or maybe it caught COVID. I don't really know, but it's not erupting quite as often as it used to. Anyway, so that's the Banda Sea. Now we're going to move on to Raja Ampat. Now, Raja Ampat is probably one of the most well-known places in maybe Southeast Asia, I'm not sure, but certainly in Indonesia. Everyone wants to go to Raja Ampat, and having been there myself several times, I would completely and utterly endorse such an opinion. Now, you can see here, there's 2 different main regions. There's to the north and to the south. The south is more focused on diving, and to the north is probably a little bit more scenery, but there's scenery and diving in both areas, as I'm going to show you as we go through these next photos. So let's move on to the next ones. Right, this is going into an anchorage called Wayag. Absolutely incredible. The karst formations are absolutely stunning. And this boat is a boat called Paradise that's moving in. A quick shout out to Skyflow Creations, who do all my drone shots. They are absolutely incredible, provided some great shots. This is one of the idyllic isolated beaches that you can set up on for the boss. You can swim there all day, or you can go for a walk on the sand, or you can leave people to enjoy themselves however they wish to on a deserted island beach. This is 1,000 temples down in Misol. There's some really beautiful anchorages in and around these, and you can see that if you're in there, there's literally no possible way that another boat can be there or can see you. This is Maliabit Bay. Now, this is really interesting. You can see the movement of the water at the bottom here. As you can actually take the yacht up into the bay, and you have to follow exactly the right tide, because you can literally be going backwards here. So it's we've had a few very brave yachts that have done that. Again, we've got mantas in their squadron or whatever it was, and yeah, this particular yacht was very fortunate. It stopped on the way and saw whales and mantas. There's a large turtle head, so we all like those, with some lovely orange corals there, so that's great. Now, one of my favorite dive guides, Jason Williamson there. There's some new jellyfish lakes down in the south of Misol, and we've met some of the people doing research on these. It's very interesting, and we thought it was only in Palau, but obviously it's to do with the whole karst area. Now, karst formations, this is the beehive kind of formation of the islands here. You can see that they're very covered with beautiful vegetation. You'll also see orchids and pitcher plants and all kinds of stuff. Sometimes they've even got cave paintings. In Indonesia, I think they found some beautiful cave paintings in Sulawesi, the oldest in the world, the other day. This is a beautiful waterfall at Batanta, and that was one of our guides who trekked upriver to show people where they can go. It's a bit of a tough trek, actually, to go up there. So you need to make sure that you're fit enough so that everyone who goes up comes back down. But it is a river, so if you're on a nice raft or something, you could probably float back down. But we haven't tried that one yet. Maybe we should. This next photo is a 300-meter cave. You take the paddleboard into the cave and you can look around. Usually you have to paddle out. We haven't found the other end yet. Maybe you can scoot yourself out eventually, but we haven't got to there. So there we go. This is one of the lovely ways you can spend the day. If you don't want to explore and go and see all these kind of rough and rugged places, then you can go and just spend an entire day set up your paddle board, set up your gazebo, maybe bring a personal chef over. That's what I always do, and have a nice bit of food when you're over there. This is quite interesting because Chris Walsh from Archimedes follows me in my presentations around, so that's why I decided to chuck him in there. This is again up at Wayag. As you can see, beautiful anchorages. And the nice thing is, because of the formation of the region, you can have boats in these different bays and still not see them. This is Naya that was taking advantage of that. It's just so beautiful. The corals and the color of the ocean. Luckily, it's protected. It's not always massively. Don't have significant conditions. There are certain times you can pretty much cruise in Raja Ampat throughout the year. Again, more yachts in more beautiful places. You know, why don't you bring your own on there? This is actually an interesting one. That location is Mios Kon, which is about 40 miles out of Sarong, and we can send speedboats of provisions and all that kind of stuff out there while the guests are having activities. So the activities and the reprovisioning doesn't affect the experience of the guests. Right, so now we're going to move on to the final cruising ground, and that's Chendrassi Bay. Chendrassi Bay further to the east. It's pretty much as east as you can get before you get into Angela Pennefather's realm of PNG. She hasn't come and explored this with me yet, but I'm sure she's going to at some point. Now, Chendrassi Bay is lovely. It's out of Biak. Biak's probably one of the most challenging ports that I personally work with. If you want something done there, you have to preempt a wait of 4 or 5 hours. So we always have to try and find activities to be doing while we're waiting for the officials to do what they need to do. But luckily, there's some beautiful areas that you can see. The Chendrassi is pretty much a beach and anchorage focused destination. The diving isn't, for me, the same standard or quality that you'll see in Raja Ampat, but it is interesting. But the beaches are absolutely phenomenal, and it's such a beautiful place. This is the Catalina Wreck, which is just outside of Biak, which you can be diving while you're waiting for the officials to decide that they want to stop having a cigarette and come and deliver your clearance back to you. We interact with a lot of the local villages in the park. This area is so remote that there are very few of the villages have ever seen white people or foreign people, and it's really nice to go. The pace of life in these villages is just zero, so to wander through there is pretty awesome. Now, the stars of the show in Chendrassi Bay are the whale sharks. There's a community of juvenile whale sharks, and you can pretty much guarantee to see them. This is my dive guide, Mr. Made, and he's keeping an eye on those whale sharks there. And we've kind of worked out how to bring the whale sharks to the back of the boats. So you can see here, we've been relatively successful in that, and they will feed on the bait fish that is under the fishing platforms. And now we've kind of worked out how to move them across and enjoy the experience for guests. And there you go. That's the quick tour of Indonesia. I hope that makes you want to come. I hope it makes you full of joy and love. And I look forward to hosting you here as and when you want to come. Thank you very much. Back to you, Susie.
Thank you very much, Andy. That was a high-powered tour of Indonesia, a big place. And actually, thank you to you guys that one of the pictures graces the APSA guide this year. So yes, it is a stunning location. Thank you to the panelists, and we have some questions, and I'm going to direct 2 of them, one from Steve Fisher and one from Marika Dirks, to Gordon. Gordon, how many guests can guests fly into Thailand at the moment, and how many boats have entered since the borders have been opened again? Can you let us just quickly answer those 2? Because I have more questions.
I certainly can, Susie. Yep. Guests can fly into Thailand at the moment. We are actually open for flights. The unfortunate thing for us at the moment, though, is guests have to go to a hotel, a state-approved quarantine hotel, for 15 days before they're allowed to join the yacht. And in answer to Marika's question, we probably had around, with smaller and larger yachts, we've probably had about 30 yachts come in since we opened up again. Or
okay.
You still have to do 15 days quarantine.
Sorry, I've got to use my glasses. From Michael Edwards, he says, given the number of yachts in the Asia Pacific region, the relative safety of Western Australia and cruising maintenance and maintenance opportunities, is there general interest within the industry for cruising in Shark Bay or Exmouth or Kimberley's? So anyone from the panel that might like to comment on that? Go for it, Richard.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say so. We're seeing a lot more interconnectivity, you know, between Indonesia, Australia, and New Zealand. In fact, I was talking to a captain friend of mine this morning, and they're building a boat in Australia, in Brisbane, and or they're planning to. And I know of a few of our clients and Andy's clients that routinely go down to Western Australia for maintenance periods now. So yeah, you know, we're seeing more and more happening now with Australia rather than, you know, just Cairns or just Brisbane. There's things starting to happen. So, you know, as the region matures and we get more and more volume going through here, then, you know, being able to connect the dots between all of these places is really key. So yeah, I think Australia, in a wider sense, has got a much bigger part to play in you know, over the next 5 to 10 years.
Actually, I think West Australia is closer to Asia than it is to Sydney, but that's another story. I'd like to finish up with Nigel. Can you give us a bit of a summary and a finish up for the sessions?
Hi, Susie. Yeah, I can. I just want to say thanks to our panelists. It's fantastic. And this wraps up our 3-episode series on cruising the Asia Pacific circuit. As you can see from our various panelists over the last few weeks, and what APSA has actually tried to show is that in terms of infrastructure and destinations, support, transport, supplies, etc., there's actually a year-round cruising circuit in the Asia Pacific region. We were just hearing from Richard there about how yachts are going from Indonesia and Southeast Asia and heading down to Western Australia to do refits. And then we're hearing from Scott that yachts are doing maintenance periods in Singapore. And the cruising circuit, the year-round cruising circuit here in Asia and the Asia Pacific region is arguably equal to, or even sometimes easier than, the more mainstream cruising circuits in Europe and the Americas. So it's a definite alternative cruising circuit over this part of the world, and somewhere where yachts can stay long term. As a former super yacht captain myself, I know that as well as fabulous destinations, we've seen some beautiful places. We need the hubs too, like Scott explained. We need them for crew downtime, for crew changes, for maintenance, repairs, getting ready for guest trips, etc., etc., etc. So, you know, we have those hubs. Asia Pacific has all of that in abundance. We have the hubs, we have the destinations. So in the coming months, we really want to do some more webinars on some destinations that we haven't covered this time. So we'd like to do some South Pacific destinations that are included within the Asia Pacific area, and also some Indian Ocean destinations. And then after that, hopefully we plan to have subject webinars. We'll have those on things like yacht repair facilities, yacht builders, yacht brokerage, yacht charter. All of those focus on this particular fabulous part of the world. So anything you want in the Asia Pacific region can be supplied by at least one of our APSA members. So we're here to help you. APSA is here to help you. And we're here to help you do business and or connect with Asia from a super yacht perspective. So contact our various members from Tahiti to New Zealand, Australia, Japan, Hong Kong, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, Maldives, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Philippines, and many more places. If I've left the country out, please complain to me. Or even better, join our APSA community. You don't have to be in Asia to do this. You can be a member from anywhere in the world. We'll endeavor to push your business and connect you as much as we can to bring you more success. So Asia Pacific, as we've seen, Asia Pacific's rising. So and it's rising fast. So please don't miss the boat. Thanks very much. And back to you, Susie.
Thank you very much, Nigel. I'd just like to quickly thank the production team that's helped me navigate this webinar series. The production team is Punch Presentations, and the director, Nick Atkinson, with his team, Jade Vaughan, Ollie Mertz, made my life a lot easier and, made the presentations a lot more sophisticated than they would have been if I'd have been at the helm. I'd also like to thank Guy Knoll from Asia Yacht Press, who has been supporting this all along as well. Thanks mostly to our members, though, for being there and being part of the association and being part of this APSA Grand Tour. We've had a great response and a lot of positive comments, and I'm looking forward to doing some more in the near future. If you want to get more information about the APSA Tour, it is on the APSA website. We've made the video recordings into YouTube presentations, so you can download them and you can watch them at your leisure. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to the panelists, and see you soon. Happy Australia Day. And happy Australia Day. Bye.